are now listening to United 96 Podcast on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. United 96 here on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. Ted here, John here, enjoying. Well, I don't know about enjoying, but I think we're all in some pretty good moods, right, John? I think we're certainly. I think this show is slightly less stupid than the discourse about what is the soccer capital of the United States that we saw.
We shouldn't get into that because I think we disagree. I don't think we need another front in this war.
I mean, all I'll say is I think Greg Berhalter's comments were pretty innocuous, and they drummed up this whole it's just, to me, it was just kind of like, seemed to me pretty clear, like the people that just want any reason to dunk on Berhalter or to call him wrong. It's like you're literally arguing about which place is the soccer capital of the United States. And there's a lot of places now that love soccer, and there's a lot of places where soccer is extremely popular. And I think it's a fair argument to ask the question whether it is, but I don't know. It seemed like a really silly argument. Historically, St. Louis has been an incredible hotbed for soccer, and it's now got an MLS team, so I'm sure we'll see it grow. It's just that, United States versus Uzbekistan is just not usually a big draw, I don't think.
No, that's the weird part about it. Like, I think two things can be true. I think it is the soccer capital. Historically, the Hunts existing makes, they walk so we can run at this point. So there's that. But then also, are the Hunts or Kansas City?
Kansas City, yeah. I
don't really feel this way anymore. I don't feel strongly anymore.
I know. I mean, I would say if you go back, and I think the reason
the early World Cup is obviously part of this.
Yes, the early U.S. national teams, the amount of teams that were really. I'm sure if we had the Cup.us showrunners, who's, I'm so sorry, I forget the guy's name.
We should get him on the show sometime.
We should. We absolutely should.
When the Open Cup comes around, sticky note, listeners, remind us.
But it has been historically a place where soccer has been very popular, and the sport has grown. Portland sells out every single game. They pack stadiums. Seattle pack stadiums. We're seeing really soccer be popular all over the country. So I don't know if finding a defined soccer capital, I think, is a little hard right now because of just how big the sport has gotten now in this country. So I don't know. I think Berhalter was making an innocuous comment, and it kind of sparked off this really dumb discussion, which honestly is because, I mean, the game itself was not very interesting, and the opponent was not very interesting. So we needed something to talk about. Also, Gio Reyna wasn't there, so you can only milk that for so long. So
you're telling me that the U.S. national team fan base took something that Greg Berhalter did or said and made it into a very, very, very large thing?
Oh yeah,
I think that's unprecedented.
Unprecedented. Never happens. Nope.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this scintillating, season defining DC United game this last weekend.
Is it season defining? Do you
think?
No.
Both of those things were sarcastic.
I mean, there's some. I think this will be a game. DC United, of course. Let's go ahead and break the ice. 0-0 draw against San Jose Earthquakes. 2 points dropped. They are now still in the playoffs, but in a very precarious position, I think, as you tweeted out, or X'd out, whatever we're calling it these days.
Tweet forever tweet. I also said it on Threads, which, yes, folks, if you're on Threads, we said this before. Everyone's kind of on Threads, so if you want to kind of be on Threads with us, we're RFK Refugees on Threads.
Yes, we are. But a precarious 2 points drop. They now, Miami, of course, is now the big story. They get a win without Leo Messi, which I think was kind of the big question mark heading into whether they could do that or not. So very precarious position for the team to be in right now, heading into this was a game I think that had to be a win. As far as the performance goes, I'm not too upset about the performance. This was a game I think this team should have come out and win. I think there was a lot of positive play. I think it was encouraging to see. I think we were all kind of questioning, was Chicago just a tired team and a tired team and a bad team? Let's see what they go up against. San Jose's not a world beater, but they are a team that's kind of firmly in that playoff picture in the West. They are a team that still has some talent, has an organization, has a style, is kind of building something, albeit a little slowly. And I think we saw that, this, what we're seeing right now maybe isn't a mirage as far as the rest of the year go. This feels like something that could be solid. The one problem is there's no depth. Once you get past the 11, there's not much else.
It's true.
It's true. This is where you jump in. Like, I mean,
yes, we talked about the fact that injuries have made this team, DC United injuries have made this team in a situation where if anybody has to come off the bench, you're not bringing on a game changer. You're bringing on a person that you would hope would be a rotational piece and not a game changer piece. And San Jose came in, and this is something that's plagued not just Wayne Rooney teams, but Ben Olsen teams. This is a DC United for the duration of my fandom. Is that they struggle very much against teams that are packed in and not trying to score and are playing defensively and playing for the draw. It's a difficult thing to do. I think DC United has never built teams around the kind of players that excel in that situation. Individuals who love to take on players, who can create their own opportunities, who don't need necessarily a lot of space given to them, that they can make something happen out of nothing. And those are expensive players, and that's historically that has not been there aren't, we're not littered with Luchos since 2010. Like those kind of players are the kind of players who can do it. So once San Jose sort of set out to do that, and it was kind of clear, technically San Jose had more of the ball, but I think, do we have the XG charts? DC was the more dangerous team. DC had 9 shots on goal to San Jose's 2. It was sort of evident in the way things were set out that was going to be the way. I mean, we could talk about the called off goal. We could talk about Daniel just standing on his head, just being a guy I had not seen any San Jose games this year, and I was super impressed with his skills.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, the team did enough to win this game. The first half, I would say, was a little bit even. It was kind of split between, I think there were some good opportunities for San Jose, coming off kind of some weird bounces and mistakes. I think there was like one moment the ball just kind of like weirdly fell, and I think it was to Abobase, and like Bono came out and made a good save. Another, I think, quality performance from him. I think we're seeing a little bit. I almost want to tend like, well, we're not seeing the sort of wild. We saw him come out of his box a little bit, but we're not seeing the sort of wild things we saw from Miller. I think that's been an overall change in the speed that this team has heading up top. With as much as I want a upgrade to Dahomey next year, and I hope we do get it. With Ted Pietro coming to the lineup, with Gabriel Pirani, there's a lot more speed sort of in the front three that's kind of willing to move forward, willing to move quickly. And we saw it in the counterattack where they did sort of get a break. And if Ted Pietro's legs maybe half an inch longer, he gets a piece of that, and that goes in the back, and then maybe we're talking about a different game. Same with the Pirani goal. I desperately wanted that Pirani goal to count. I like looked at like the Zapruder film of like all the breakdowns, and yes, for all intents and purposes, he was offside. It was extremely close, but VAR is VAR, and they're gonna call that every time. And I think I loved Dave. Was it Dave Johnson called like, well, they're going to change the rules and that will be considered onside. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's not right now. So, and I don't even know if they'll make that change or not. But overall, I guess I don't walk away from this game thinking like, well, that was ugly, that was bad. They played well, they generated chances. I mean, Benteke,
the last 15 minutes were chaos city. They were that was all the chances jammed into the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and they did. And but you could see the struggle that I think Wayne was having. Like he could see his team developing, he could see the movement, he could see it really good, and you just know you're going to throw out a Yamil Assad, a Nigel Robertha, or somebody else, and then immediately it's gonna. And I think we saw several times where Yamil Assad and Nigel Robertha tried to hook up, and it died or something. Or I think Eric Hurtado made an appearance as well. Jackson Hopkins joining Donovan Pines on the what's going on bench. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about that. A lot of people were talking about Jackson Hopkins. I'm not yet.
He's not proved it. He's not proved that he deserves to be out. Has he proved that he should be out there more than Eric Hurtado? Yeah, but they don't play the same position.
Mm-hmm.
Yamil Assad, that's arguable. That's a situation where the coach's read of the player does not match the fan base, and that happens. That happens. Ulysses Segura says hello. That certainly happens. But we've talked about it forever, is that when coaches get run through the ringer about their substitution patterns, and no one ever talks about what the options actually are. And he cannot produce for you a good player off the bench that does not exist. And if you look, the rest of the bench was Samake, Sargis, Hopkins, Pines, Durkin, Zamudio. I kind of wanted to see Durkin I thought Click had a very, very, very rough first
Yeah, one
half.
player, very rough.
And the wild part is his play against Chicago was phenomenal, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that deep lying 8. But good Lord, he was turning the ball all over the place, turning it over in dangerous parts of the field. So I was in my head around the 60th minute. I was like, Durkin for Mateus would be probably pretty. I mean, they'll never do it, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mateus. I mean, he still had some good service into the box. He had a wicked shot. I mean, he scores that goal. I don't think we're maybe even.
He picked up. Second half was a lot better than the first half.
He picked up. So I mean, I think there was some. I think Wayne talked about the team looked flat. I think he was certainly a part of that. I'm not too concerned about where he is right now. His position. I think it's still a position you want him in to be successful. And then, I think the thing that's really got the whole fan base going is, the continued evolution of Ted Pietro, who was phenomenal again in this game and just all over the place, hitting passes, doing line. He's like it was funny if you're an extra time connoisseur like myself and you listen to a lot of Matt Doyle. Matt Doyle was sort of talking about how good he was, but he's like, but he can't do that line breaking pass. And it was like almost he heard that and he was like, oh, I'll show you, I can do that. And he hits like just a couple of really nice passes to sort of break those lines and really break down San Jose in a couple spaces. But again, we
need Matt Doyle to say he can't score hat tricks,
and then he'll score. But I mean, honestly, I thought Ted Pietro continues to impress. I guess where I'm landing, and we'll get to some, I think there were some listener comments or questions. A lot of people being like, I don't want this team to make the playoffs because I don't want, I want actual change to happen in this organization. And I think we're sympathetic to that.
Yes, that is certainly not a completely without merit or a logical statement, but I think we can pick it apart a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think you gotta, and it's really difficult because I really feel like you watch these past two performances and you're like, oh man, this feels a little real. This feels like this is something, I think the big question is, can you get, I think you agree to a deal for Pirani and then literally it's just like find a designated player that is better than Dahomey. And maybe you've got something here that you can actually build upon. And then also clean house from position 12 all the way down, basically, maybe with the exception of goalkeeper and Durkin and a couple guys, like basically just get yourself some new depth in there, or promote some younger guys up from the academy. So, it's difficult to watch this, and then you're just like, man, am I getting sucked in again? Am I getting sucked into the idea that, hey, maybe this team can, build something? This is actually like, we got one more year of Click, and I think we got one more year of Click. Mm-hmm. Is he a 2-year or 3-year contract? I think it's 2-year.
I think he's 3-year actually.
Oh, you might
we can check as I'm talking. Ted will look this up.
Yeah, but I know I definitely know that Benteke is 2 years. Like he next year is his last year of his contract. He might have an option or two. But it's like, man, you take this nice little base you have of something that works, that looks. I mean, honestly, it's been the most. I talk like how many moments I judge how well I think a team is playing by. I call them edge of couch moments. It's like you see an attack building, and you see something that's quick, and you feel like there's a chance they might score. And I would say probably all season I have had very few, if any, of those moments. And this felt like something, these past two games, I've had more of those moments where it looked really good. So I don't know.
I think our chance for results mandating change, we missed them. We had to be last place again for whatever happened to almost necessitate a firing. I think making the playoffs in the 9th spot and missing the playoffs in the 10th spot are completely immaterial in a decision-making process about if Dave Casper be retained. I don't think that's really going to make a difference one way or another. I think there's enough excuses and contingency to, either way, whatever way the coin flips, you can sort of. So I would say and this is my stand. I think I had said earlier in the year I didn't want us to make the playoffs for that reason, but I have come around to the idea that that won't actually make a difference. So I am now just in the camp of, boy, I would really like to go to a playoff game at Audi Field, and that's really all that I care about, because that's the good stuff, and life needs the good stuff. So if they did make it or didn't make it, I don't think that's what's going to decide Casper's fate. So that's
Yeah,
my official feeling on it. By the way, before I move on, who do you think the lowest DC United foot mob starter was, if you haven't looked already?
I think I looked. I think was it Ted Pietro or something like
It was
that?
Pirani 6.7, Ted Koo 6.9, everybody else in the sevens. So foot mob sometimes can be tricky.
Yeah, Foot Mob. I think they had Dahome as like the best player out there on the field. If I or one of the,
7.9, that is correct.
yeah, that's not
Well, not including Daniel's 8.8 performance, where he is literally soccer Spider-Man.
Yeah, Foot Mob's ratings can be a little funky. And I think if like Pirani gets that goal, I think his like rating would jump up significantly in that game. So it's a little.
I want to read his stats real quick. Daniel's stats: 8 saves, 1.3 xGOT, 5 diving saves, 4 saves inside the box, and then a bunch of net stats that don't matter. But I loved 5 diving saves and 8 saves total. he was put under the cosh, as they say.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer those questions?
Sure. Let's get right into the questions. I think we got one here from Alan Watts. Yep, that's it says, if Casper gets the boot, who would you like to see in the GM spot? Who are the most qualified candidates available, and would they be a good fit?
What an interesting question on the week that you ask it.
Yes, on the week we ask it. Let's and I think we also got another question related to this. I'll go ahead and drop both of these. I think I'll drop both of these in. We just got this in on our Twitter, if I can pull up Twitter quickly. I think sort of a related question, I think, right, to how things are going.
By the way, join our Discord if you want to be able to ask questions to the show when we don't do a live show.
We will absolutely read the Twitter, but we definitely give a little preference to the Discord because it's right there. Mark Rickland says, what does a Bruce Arena have to do to get fired from the Revs on a scale of Asada to Taxi? Where do you rate Bruce's transgressions? I am honestly, I'm not going to give an answer. Maybe you want. It's a big old question mark. We do not know what he said. We don't know what was said. We know it was an inappropriate remark.
We know he said something. Confirmed that something was said.
Confirmed something was said. He was guilty of whatever he was accused of saying. Like there seemed to be, there isn't a, this was one of the situations where, it wasn't just, accused and no one else knows. It seems to me it was pretty much confirmed. It was The Athletic, I think, had the best reporting of this. Pablo and I believe
shocker of shocks. The Athletic leads the way on the deep cover reporting.
They're pretty much the only ones that
they are the best.
really doing this. But basically, it was said in a coaches meeting. Apparently, it was brought up by Richie Williams, who, if you're
acting head coach Richie Williams,
who, if you don't know, has been wanting. You could tell there was some want from him to be a head coach in this league. Number one, and two, he's also been a longtime DC United player. Played under Bruce Arena while at DC United. So a guy
United coach for 7 seconds.
Before leaving. Mr. Travis Clark does not like Richie Williams as a coach. So that is like completely stunned in my opinion of him. But an odd situation where apparently there's been some disagreement amongst the staff between Kurt Anolfo, Bruce Arena, and Richie Williams. Apparently Richie Williams was not going to return as an assistant coach. I don't want to sit here and say, I think we need to be careful with saying, like, and I think that's what's being insinuated here, is that Richie Williams, made a move where he heard something in a coach's room that maybe everybody else heard, but no one really cared. And he said, oh, here's a moment where I can get to, basically steal in a, power House of Cards power play type of move.
This is a Magic Eye poster ass type of situation where everyone looks at it and sees what they want to see, because the data is so it all depends on what your opinions are, what your priors are about the cast of characters.
Yeah, and the and basically he is now the acting head coach. The team, I think, suffered a 1-1 draw earlier this week. But he's the one apparently who the complaint stemmed from. The press conference was canceled. They actually canceled the press conference, which was
They can't keep canceling. Eventually, someone's going to have to talk about this.
and eventually someone's going to be there. I personally, I don't know, like what I think that was a real like that really sort of settled me into kind of the weirdness of this, and just like the fact that you won't even let your coach can give a standard canned answer of
Yeah,
I'm not going to talk.
I'll address this
No,
at a later time.
yeah, no comment, and we're focused on the season and finishing out the year. Boom, done. Like the fact they didn't even want to put him in that situation is just bizarre. Other things, the whole thing with Kaylin Kyle and the comments she made. She apparently might be back in the. She's apparently got a 30-day suspension. She might be back.
For folks who don't know what we're talking about, Caitlin Kyle, was it on a radio show she was on, or a podcast?
She was on the football show Sirius XM and made a statement that apparently Bruce Arena had said a racist remark, and we think was conflating. There was some conflating going on between Taxi and and the situation with Taxi and everything else, and it's an unfortunate statement for her.
That's a human outcome. I feel like that is a believable human outcome to just have a brain fart. Ted and I, on a much smaller scale, much smaller scale, talk out of our ass for a hobby. And sometimes you're saying the wrong thing. And sometimes your brain isn't working all the way when you're thinking, or not thinking all the way when you're talking. But I think she got what she probably deserved for that. I think that was, that's like a big accusation to levy. And for anyone, but particularly like an icon of American soccer, like you're going to get your facts straight here before you talk, unfortunately.
Yeah, but there have been several people that have voiced support. There's been, of course, Greg Berhalter was asked about. Again, he admitted, he said, I don't really know the situation, but
he's like everybody else.
Yeah, like everyone else. But he says, he knows Bruce, thinks he's a great guy. Shawi Joseph, Gustavo Bo coming out, showing support. So it's clear to me that, this is maybe the situation is a little less, it's certainly more gray than what we saw, I guess, from DC and Taxi. Here's a guy who's had a 30-year coaching career. It seems strange that it would sort of blow up on, he would blow it up like this, but you never know. I mean, he is certainly in the older generation. And he's certainly volatile as far as how he talks. So, as far as wanting him back, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if he wants to come back. This might be the sign of, hey, I want to retire. He might have been thinking about retirement anyway.
He had 1 year left on his contract, I believe, with New England. So he's 71, and to get back, he has to Mother May I to Don Garber, who he has had numerous run-ins with in the past. I can't imagine a guy he would less want to do that with. So I think this is probably the end for him. So I would say that I am more open to second chances than a lot of people. I don't know what he said. I don't know, and that's the big speculating about something when you don't know what someone said is the biggest trap of all time. Generally, I'm inclined to give people second chances, particularly if they are, willing to change and willing to learn. And he has a long enough history. His history isn't riddled with these things, as far as we know. And the character witnesses that are coming out of the woodwork of all sort of creeds and ages and sides of the coin that he's been on. Everyone basically says he's a bastard, but he's a really good bastard. Like he is exactly who he is, right? Like he's not changed at all. I think that it's hard to say what happened. I don't think he's an option. I think we could probably nip it in the bud in saying I don't think he's an option for a number of reasons with this club. I think the club does not want to have anything to do, any whiff of a complicated situation with a player or a coach as best as they can avoid. And this is a very, very high profile one. And, it's complicated on its own face. I think that he's had comments to say in the last couple of years about ownership around DC United. So, our ownership has shown themselves, and ownership and front office has shown themselves to be somewhat thin-skinned when it comes to criticism, I think. Both from its fan base with signs that are being held in Audi Field, and also with coaches who happen to speak out pretty loudly about what they think about stuff around the team. So all that to say, I don't think Bruce is an option regardless. Do you have candidates in mind? GM is like the hardest one because GMs have come out of nowhere to do pretty well.
I mean, one idea for GM for me is Bob Bradley. I'm not sure if I think he's going off. I think he's now going to Norway. So I think that is out of the question. I don't know if there are really too many like surefire candidates that you would want as your GM. I would say, I mean, I would love it if we could go out and poach somebody, but again, where are you going to find that right now? As far as somebody you can bring in to actually make a change. It's a weird. I think it's a weird. I think you're going to have to go out and find somebody who is honestly. I mean, here's a wild idea. What about Jesse Marsh? What's he up to these days? That would be interesting. It'd be interesting to grab him. He'd probably want to be more of a coach than anything, but he's a guy I would not.
I'd love to give the keys to Dane Murphy. I'd love to bring him back. He's shown himself to be a credible soccer executive and talent identifier in England. And I think he has his history here is extremely brief. He played here for like a minute. He was in the front office here for like another minute. But I think that if you created an attractive project and gave him a nice sizable salary, I think you could convince him to give it a shot.
Yeah.
There are lots of, that's like the one spot where a player can come out of almost no experience to do the job. Carlos Bocanegra comes to mind. Pat Onstad comes to mind.
I don't think we want Carlos Bocanegra.
I don't want them. I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily. There isn't like a GM store that everyone knows the candidates who they might be and who they pop up. Like, just guys exist and come around. So
here's a name: DeMarcus Beasley. It's good, DeMarcus Beasley.
He wants to be involved. That's for sure, and he's around the league long enough.
Yeah. So he'd be another name I'd be interested in seeing.
It's not the front office job, but coach Hugo Perez.
Yeah,
a name a lot of people have been talking about, who is now no longer the El Salvador manager after a somewhat fiery exit after losing in the Nations League. Is a coach I don't have a huge opinion on, but it appears that my entire Twitter feed does, and they extremely would love him to come coach either as an assistant or the head coach for DC United. As an assistant, I'd say immediately go for it. Head coach, we appear to be in some sort of standoff at the moment between the future and the present, and Wayne's options and our opinions on how we should be. So watch this space, I guess.
Yeah, and talk about the Colorado coach that was just fired,
Robin Fraser.
Robin Fraser has come up as a name. Talk about a guy, and this is where I was like, everybody's like, well, I don't want him if Casper's here, and I'm like, I don't think you understand like how bad of we make Chivas USA in Colorado look decent in our management. Like at least we pay scouts to go out and scout players. And
Chivas USA used to use a reality show to get players, so I don't know that they're better than we are, and they don't exist. That one's tough.
Colorado won the West, but I think that has more to do with Robin Fraser than anything else. They are an organization that has shown I know we do not. There are a lot of people out here that do not like the current ownership group. I would argue that they care a lot more than Stan Kroenke cares about the Colorado Rapids. People don't even know that Stan Kroenke owns the Colorado
Stealth
Rapids.
Owner.
That is how bad it is. I think I saw a I think it was a Men in Blazers tweet when the Rams and the Patriots played in the Super Bowl, and it was like, oh, it's the Super Bowl between the guy who doesn't care about Arsenal and the guy who doesn't care about the Revolution. And I said, well, at least you know that. At least you know one of them owns the Revolution. You wouldn't know one of them also does own an MLS team. And it's like, it's just he does not, he's shown that he just like does not care. He's not willing to invest in spending any type of money to bring anything into that team, even though he can more than afford it. He is by far, Stan Kroenke is the worst owner in Major League Soccer. Period, bar none. Absolutely the worst owner. And I would pick Jason Levian over him any day of the week, to be honest, because at least I can tell that I think Jason cares a little bit. I think he wants to be successful. I just think he doesn't know how to, and I think that's where you're seeing. And he's putting his trust in people that have kind of been there instead of maybe looking and trying to actually get something new in the door. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting year. Delaware on Discord says, what will be made of Wayne Rooney's time here in DC, and when he goes back to England? I mean, I think it's going to depend if he gets his team into the playoffs, and then he wins a playoff game, I think the narrative maybe shifts a little bit. Maybe they talk a little bit more about him. I think right now, I don't think he's done enough to really change the narrative that it's looking like a failure. The last article written was he was looking for like some Premier League casts off and free agents, was kind of the last article we saw in England. I don't think it's going to really harm his reputation in general. I think there will be enough quotes from the Lewis O'Briens, the Bentekes. They'll get quotes from those. Oh, he was a great coach. I think he'll be fine.
I think
Regardless.
the Premier League cast-off story is so overblown because what he was doing was looking at free agents after the window to try to make up for the fact that he just lost his number 10 or 11 or whatever his number was at this point.
Yeah,
that's what they didn't. Andrew Ayew was not being. By the way, that name is not. That's not the first time DC United has circled that name. By the way, if you look back in the archives, they've looked at him before. Yeah, I would say that Wayne is standing up in the touch area now. So there's that. He's not just sitting down. That Wayne watch. he stopped the ball from rolling in the touch last time. So I think that he's. I think to your point, it matters what happens at the end of the season. I think people overseas don't care. Birmingham would sign him today as soon as their coach up. So there is always going to be a spot for a legend to get a coaching opportunity. Maybe not in the Premier League. Maybe he has to toil in the Championship a while. But there are worse things in the world for him to do.
Hypothetical. I think we've gone over the hypothetical that we basically are in the agreement that he will not be back this year. Seeing the past, we said that before we saw these past couple games. Seeing how the team is playing, they're looking better. They are not a complete and utter. You're not seeing this team you're seeing this team almost as finding sort of a second win to maybe make a run to the playoffs. Let's assume things go well. They finish 8th. Miami stumbles down the block because I don't want to bet against them Miami finishing 9th and then us having to play Miami because I think we would lose. But they stumble down the block. We get Montreal. We win a playoff series. We take it to 3 games against Philly,
which is still so funny to me that we're doing this again.
That we're doing the 3. It's gonna be fun. I'm enjoying it. I like some beef a little bit, but so I like some steaks. I think it's we'll see how it goes. I kind of was digging the whole group section idea. I thought that was
sorry to make you digression in there. I apologize.
But anyway, let's say that happens. I'm gonna say that's like probably like we're talking best case scenario at this point.
Yes.
You think he's back?
No.
You don't think so?
I think he's made his mind up now.
Really?
I think his camp leaking this information about not in the camp, him talking to Steve Goff about this, I think is not a plea to re-sign me. It's I want you to know why I left, and I want you to know how messed up they're treating me, and I think I deserve better. I don't think it's because what he's saying in the article sounds kind of baggy. It sounds kind of like, I'd love to stay here long term. I don't mind that my family's not here. I don't mind that my kids aren't here. I want to sign an extension. I don't want just this year. And then in the press conference where he's actually talking with his own mouth to people, he says, "I'm comfortable. I'm not worried about it. I don't. This does not bother me." So I think he's gone for that reason. I don't think it has anything to do. He wants to get us in the playoffs so he can have done that, and I'm sure he loves the players. But I think that's it. By the way, how hilarious would it be if, say, he does get a Premier League job, which I do not think is in the offing,
championship,
but he's in the championship, and Fred Bryant is now at championship. He brings Fred with him across. That would be hilarious, and I hope that happens for his sake. That would be awesome for him. But I just thought that was a funny thought. I was just thinking about the touchline at Birmingham City and seeing Fred next. And a digression here. Do you think there's anything that could keep Pete Shuttleworth here and separate him from Wayne if Wayne gets another job? Any sort of head coach offer that would be appealing?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think so. Other people seem to be like, no, he would never go. He would never leave Wayne like that. I was like, do you remember what happened with Hernan Losada and his assistant?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff happens, man. And Pete, I imagine, as long as he doesn't hate it here, which he does not seem to based on his Instagram, he seems to not hate it. Just because you take a job as a head coach away from your guy doesn't mean that you'll not meet up again. Like Jose Mourinho has been bringing assistant coaches from continent to continent or from country to country for 15 years. It happens.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, Pete Shuttleworth, I think, has certainly, I think he's there as kind of certainly the more experienced coach, been around the block, trying to help set the team up. And the team has had coaches come in that have assistant coaches that have a little more tactical sense. We went through it with Ben Olsen. I forget the coach. They brought in like some guy from Italy, and he was like a tactical. He was a guy who was like getting the tactics. Like it's like we need somebody like Ben's great. His like rapport with the players is great. He's able to motivate them, get them going. But we need somebody that can tell him, hey, you should play this formation because this excels this guy's strengths. So I don't know. It could be certainly interesting to see if he's offered the job. I mean, I think you would have to consider it being a head coach versus being an assistant coach. It's interesting. F me gently with the chainsaw. Ask questions every week, and we always read his name. If you could take one of the players from DC had lost since Hernan started back, who would you take? Areola, Gressel, Ola, or Ravel? Angus, by the way, apparently in the questions, you can just drop right in and answer one of the questions.
Our
He says,
invisible co-host, Angus.
he says Kevin Paredes. I want to exclude Paredes from this conversation. I don't think like the players here that left were specific decisions related to they didn't want to either the team didn't want them there anymore or they didn't want to be in. In the case of Areola, it was he didn't want to be here anymore. Gressel was a decision made by the team to trade. Ravel was certainly a team decision. They didn't think he could cut it anymore. Same with Ola Kamara. And Kevin is a young player, very talented player. You get a decent offer, you sell him. That happens in any administration. So I want to like take him out of the conversation almost. It's like he doesn't count. He doesn't count, I think, what the question was getting at. I think we've made this statement pretty clear. In my opinion, it's Julian Gressel with the way this team plays. Areola didn't want to be here. He was definitely like, I don't want to play under Hernan. I'm out of here. I want to go somewhere else that's going to play more to my style. Julian Gressel, for all intents and purposes, loved being here. I mean, he was happy. He had a home. He had a family. He loves living on the East Coast. So this kind of uprooting was just very cold and I think certainly very shocking to him. And I think we look at where this team is now. Boy, they could really use him. And I think he's absolutely the player that I think that I am so angry. I'm glad I almost bought his jersey, I think, last year. I'm very glad I didn't because that would have been really sad for me because there's some divided opinions on whether he's really good or not. I think those opinions that say he's not are 100% wrong and he would be amazing here. So certainly my list. You can have a disagreement.
I have his jersey in a closet with the I think with the tag still on, to be honest with you.
Yeah. He didn't
I have
like
too many jerseys.
He didn't like our tweet last time. I'm like, come
I know.
on, dude.
Not cool, man. I know you saw it. You got enough notice. I would say Paul Areola is the one I miss the most because his skill set and his intangibles value to the team, the differential between when he was in the lineup and not was so noticeable. That I would want him back, and he's older. It's like the question's complicated. I guess it's like if you could create a splinter universe where you are, you have a different future, or you're using the same the player as they were as they left, like that time. Either way, Paul was one of my favorite players for DC United since he was here, so I would like him back. Paredes, if we're not excluding him, which we are, would also be my choice.
The only reason I don't say Areola is because I look at who we. I mean, this might have been a different answer for me a couple weeks ago, but I think right now I'm looking at Pirani looks good. I think Pirani has possibly a little higher ceiling than Areola, and Teku DiPietro as well. I think also has a potentially higher ceiling.
Man,
or
folks,
right there,
clip this show, clip the audio, clip the audio on this. Pirani has a more upside than a 40 cap U.S. national team winger.
I mean, you're talking to a guy who's less than 20. I think those are finding young, talented players that show they can step up is something that I think you need to latch on because those are players that you can start to build teams around and you can keep for 3 years and then potentially sell. Which I think is certainly why Pirani is here. He's certainly getting a lot more playing time, a lot more attention, being on the field. I think he just needs to put it together with some goals, and he almost did this game. So honestly, like I look at the biggest gap and the biggest miss we have right now, and it's in that left back spot. So that's why my answer is right back spot. He's right back. Is it right wing back or left wing back? I can't remember.
Who?
Gressel. I can't remember which side. He's right wing back. So yeah, right wing back is where we absolutely are missing him. All right,
Yes.
Jess, go
But
ahead.
by the way, before we move on to that, I looked this up because we were talking about DC United coaches of the past. Did you know, according to the Washington Post, Steve Cherundolo was on our coaching list, and he was discarded because he didn't have any experience. He was only worked with youth teams, and that article was written in 2021. And now, in the year of our Lord 2023, he is coaching LAFC, the best team in the West, and doing just fine.
Yeah.
So that was a good idea, guys. Way to exclude talent because he didn't have a very interesting choice.
Yeah.
What universe where Hernan Losada does not get hired?
I
And
mean, it probably would have been shoot. Honestly, like that would be like a weird butterfly effect because we probably would have hired. Oh shoot! Why can't I think of his name right now? He went to coach Chicago.
Ezra Hendrickson.
Ezra Hendrickson. We probably would have gotten Ezra Hendrickson, and then
Clarence Seedorf also was under consideration.
Clarence Seedorf. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I
Sands
think
of time.
Yeah, I think we would have gotten Ezra Hendrickson, and I mean, who knows at this point? You know, who knows?
Too many. I just thought it was funny that we were like Steve Cherundolo.
Yeah,
he sucks.
I mean, I don't know if Steve Cherundolo benefits from the fact that he's in LA, and LA is a monster as far as what they have as an organization.
But they are a monster who entrusted the monster to this man's hands, who at 2 years prior was not experienced enough for DC United.
Fair point.
It's called vision. It's called taking risks in vision versus not.
And let's get to the next question. Jesse, how much of a difference would a healthy Martin Rodriguez have made, and does he see any playing time? I don't think this year. I think this year is firmly out of the question.
He meant if he wasn't injured, how much would his playing time would he have gotten?
I think he would have gotten a decent run.
He would have gotten all of the playing time.
Yeah, he would have. I would love to see Martin Rodriguez out there as opposed to Yamil Assad. I'll just leave it there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, no, for certain that. I think that's a gimme. I think, he gets asked about a lot now, I think, because of I don't want to say parade of clowns we put at left wing, but certainly the lack of impact players that have come and played left wing, to Home being the latest of said players. He did not put it all together for DC United more than 1 or 2 games. Mm-hmm. He had a decent preseason and we wanted him to do well. He still at that time was playing sometimes it was Chile, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was still getting called up for them, I believe. I don't think he would have made a huge difference. He has another year on his contract, I have been told by invisible co-host Angus. But he's coming off an ACL. I don't know how high my expectations are. We need him to be good. He's there. He's making a salary that is of a player that can contribute, should contribute right away.
He's TAM level, and you're talking about you need to hit on your DPs. I mean, if you want to excel, you have to hit on your TAM level players as well. And that is still an avenue that I feel like DC has just lacked. It's just like they have not been able to find solid players in that they're I think they've gotten better at finding designated players that they come in and they can perform. I think they've gotten better at certain scouting of those types of players they're having. I think honestly getting in a full-time scout and all of that has made a huge difference, I think, and also maybe trusting some of the data scout. I think that's caused them to be a little bit smarter scouting. I'm sure that played a role in signing Pirani. I'm sure that's played a role in maybe helping Ted DiPietro. So we're seeing sort of some better players come in, and we're seeing less misses of talent. But I just think I completely lost the plot. I just think I just think you look at sort of the players, Martin Rodriguez, Ravel Morrison. I mean, these sort of TAM level players have not been good,
or literally not been on the roster and been paid to not be on the roster.
And
not me looking up TT Rodriguez's transfer market page right now. Not me doing that.
Yamil Assad too as well. I believe he's TAM level, isn't he? I believe maybe not.
No, Yamil Assad. They brought him in. They paid him in food court tokens. I think he was a veteran minimum type of player. He was non-attached.
Uh, Nigel Roberta, another TAM level
Yeah,
player. They
yeah.
had
No,
not done.
he's making money. Let's see if his contract expires the end of this year. Please, please let it.
I believe it. I
Please.
believe it does. He was signed beginning of 2022. I would imagine.
Has 1 year left on his contract. Is that right? No, expiration December 31st, 2023.
Yeah, he's done.
So that's that then.
Money back. Yeah, but I mean, I think that's been where this team has missed, and I think that's been the difference when teams are able to nail on some of those players that are kind of in between designated player and regular roster player and get sort of elevated play from them. Those are the teams that are successful. Those are the teams that are able to win games. You look at I'm trying to think of players like I'm trying to think of players that like fall into that have been really successful, like TAM level players. I mean, honestly, Pedro Santos in the early, I think he became a TAM level player and was very successful for Columbus. Your Jordan Morris, he's not a designated player. He is certainly in that upper echelon of TAM and has been really good for Seattle. So it's all about finding those guys and having those guys be successful. And I think that's the one avenue where DC has just not yet hit yet and really find those players. So we'll see if it changes. Maybe it'll change with a new GM or a new person running the ship, hopefully.
It's I've just been looking at his contract data. It also breaks down everyone's salary by the week.
Mm-hmm.
And Christian Benteke makes $81,000 a week playing for DC United, which is fine. Like they make a lot more money in other countries and stuff, but like you don't normally see in dollars. It's usually in pounds, and you don't normally see like MLS players have their salary broke down. It's always annual. So when you see it like that, you're like, man, you can't have a bad day at work.
Yeah,
like you can't not want to go to training if you're clearing like the median family income in a week. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, we got some more questions that popped in as we were talking.
How about that?
Year. I think Brendan Cartwright asked if Martin Rodriguez, our highest DP non-player, is he back next year? I think we have said
he has to be because he is, unless they cut him.
Yeah, unless you can find ways to mutually terminate the contract.
Oh, you know what? Also, Angus is wrong. It says here on Capology, expiration December 31st, 2023.
Yeah. So
that's what I thought.
He might have an option on his year, so
maybe. But I don't think we'll take it.
I mean, if you can negotiate that down a little bit, maybe you take a flyer and see if he can perform. And Richard Rolson, I want to get his question in for you. Is Bruni making the right decision with the players he has coming off the bench? Should it be using Hopkins or Durkin over Assad or Durkin over Hurtado? I think is what he means. Richard also asks, do you think Rooney finishes the season? Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah,
right now it's running into the playoffs. If this team gets eliminated before, I could see maybe him. I think it would be honestly, he would probably resign at that point. I'm sure. And I think
he'd ride it to the end. Either way, but
ride it to the end of the year.
Yeah, we're not going to get eliminated in like before. There will be at least 3 games left before we get eliminated. We're not going to eliminate next week.
Yeah.
We're on the cusp.
Yeah, I could see though. I don't know. I could see him if he's not going to be a contract. Why would you be here though? And there might be a market out there to go grab another spot. But I think this team is going to be. I think this team is going to be in a playoff spot. I think they're going to be in a playoff spot heading into the end of decision day, and then they are going to need some things to happen to make the playoffs. That is my projection. Because we don't play on decision day. So I think that is my projection, is that we will be sitting in 9th place and we will need something to happen. We will need a team to lose or a team to get a draw or not win or something to happen that will have us make the playoffs. So we'll see if it happens.
So Mateus Click is also a 2024. Benteke and Click are both 2024.
Yep. So
is Christian Dahome.
Yeah, real question. I think, goodness gracious. Maybe, hopefully there's not. I hope that Capology thing is wrong. Please.
It could be. Maybe it is.
I thought he was on the last year. I'm pretty sure he was on the last year of his contract. I'm 90% certain they would not have made that trade. He was on the last year of his contract.
No.
But I think we talked a little bit, Richard. We talked a little bit about should Rooney be playing Hopkins? I think it's a trust thing. And I'm not convinced. I think we're both not convinced on Hopkins. He had a couple nice things he showed early on. He hasn't really been able to replicate it. He's played pretty well at Loudoun, and I think the unfortunate thing is I think he's too good for Loudoun, but I don't know if he elevates this team enough to really give us something off the bench. I think if this team is up by maybe a couple goals, maybe you see him go out there to see if he can show enough to maybe get that type of appearance. But I don't know. I project we will see maybe only a couple sub appearances for him for the rest of the year. So, all right. Anything else you want to drop?
No, I was just furiously Googling Christian Dahome's contract status, but I'm not going to be able to find it. So if you're listening and you know better than us, figure it out. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Contract through 2024 with the one he signed with Vancouver, which is the one that would persist.
Okay. I wonder how much of that contract Vancouver's paying. Like how much we had to take on.
Either way, if we still get to get his royal presence next year, I don't know how much unless it's 100% of it.
Yeah.
By the way, there's also additional GAM that's going for Vancouver's way in 2025 if certain performance incentives are met. And if those are starts or appearances, I'm going to cry because that might actually happen. But if it's goals or assists, I feel comfortable.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man. Okay. All right. I think that's going to do it, folks.
we just end the show with the happy after talking generally pretty positively for the whole show.
Pretty possibly. Game coming up against Charlotte. Bad team on the road. A game I would think about maybe going to if things were different, but unfortunately can't make it. This game may happen. Maybe it'll happen next year. It's actually closer to me to go to Charlotte than it is to go to DC.
Wild.
But anyway, yes. I don't know if we really have much to break down this game. Charlotte are another bad team. This is a road game. DC, for all intents and purposes, has been pretty good on the road. They've been better. I think they sometimes look better on the road than they have at Audi Field, even though I think their record is still a losing record. But it's like you should win your games at home, and they've been very average at home, and you are expected not to be very good on the road, and they've been average to okay on the road. So I think this is a big game. 3 points. This is another 6-pointer, just like the game against Chicago, another team on the downswing, but it is on the road this time and not at Audi Field. And then, so I think, John, what are your next 3 games? I believe it's Charlotte and then Atlanta home and New York Red Bulls. Out of 9 points, how many do they need?
9.
I'm going to say 7. I think you can get away with 7, but
9 might get us away from Miami in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. 9 I think would be more comfortable. I think they could get away with 7. But I think one of the games against their 2 bad teams they have on the road right now, they have Austin and Charlotte. I think they need to win at least one of those games. Charlotte's probably the most important one. So maybe I'm back on you with 9 points. I don't know.
Can you imagine the money you'd be making if you were able to put a bet before Messi got here, like a MLS Cup futures in-season bet for Miami? It'd probably been like plus 20,000. And now it's probably like plus like 300, even though are they in the playoff picture yet? Are they not there yet?
No, they're not. They are. I was going to look up FanDuel. I was going to look up FanDuel Sportsbook just to see like what their numbers were. But I don't think I'll be able to get there. But no, they're not in the playoff. They technically could catch us right now in the 9th spot. They have 2 games in hand on us with 6 points. I will say that I think Miami could make the playoffs. I think that's certainly possible. I don't know if I'm ready to believe it just yet, because I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say I feel like there's already been some fatigue complaints from Messi. I don't know if it's such a sure thing. I think they got Charlotte twice though, so maybe I'll change my mind. They're going to absolutely bury them because Charlotte's a bad team, but yeah, we'll see.
Miami is plus 600 to win the whole thing. DC United is plus 10,000. That's current. That's up right now. What other team are you interested in quickly? Anybody?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
I'm sure they're
plus 490. So the team that is going to most likely win the Supporters Shield is only minus 110 from Inter Miami, who is currently outside of the playoff picture. That's how confident they are, and they're going to take it all the way and win MLS Cup.
It would be wild. I'm just imagining how wild it will be if Messi goes out and wins MLS Cup. Just like it would rank, in my opinion. I mean, it would rank among the greatest like summer signing performance
of any league.
probably since, like, I mean, we're talking maybe Rui Diaz when he signed for Seattle because they were terrible, and then I think it was Rui Diaz, wasn't it? Wasn't
I
I
don't know if
believe
that was a summer signing or not.
I know. I remember there was a season they were really bad. They were like bottom. Everybody was counting them out, and they fired Ziggy Schmidt. And then that's when they signed. I'm gonna go on a limb and say it was Rui Diaz, and then they went on the run. This would be almost another level of, because they were like, Seattle was bad, but they weren't like Miami was really,
They were
really
hopeless.
bad.
They were
hopeless.
moribund. This would be the biggest comeback I think I've seen in anything, really, except for like maybe. I mean, then I'll stay in the world of soccer. I cannot imagine another player making this amount of change in this short amount of time. I think I saw it. The odds reset as current. I think before that they were like plus 2,000 or 3,000, maybe season start. Wild stuff. Anyway, don't bet them because the money's not good enough, and don't bet DC United because you're not going to get your money back.
No. If there's a playoff bet, maybe and it's low, maybe you could make that. Maybe we would make the playoffs. Anyway, that's gonna do it, folks. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch you guys next week. Vamos.
Vamos.